this season 2 premiere of Andor, the 3-episode drop, definitely Wizard. Actually, I'd put this trio, not having seen the other, episodes to come. There's a lot of arcs to come, and I can tell that this is a lot of setup, and so that's why I'd say this 3-episode arc to introduce season 2 was mostly Wizard, but not totally Wizard. What would you say, Nick?
Hey, Billy, I'm glad we're back. This is Nick and Billy, mostly Wizard. I think, are we on episode 8?
Is that 8? Okay, yeah, that's why I wasn't saying the number, because I wasn't.
It's episode 8 or 7. I can't remember, but we'll have to check on that.
No,
but
you're right.
Holy crap. All I can say, Billy, is I am thoroughly, I have so much faith in what is going on. That was amazing. Like, let's just start off on just how this show is shot. This show is beautiful.
It's gorgeous, man.
Absolutely gorgeous. Like the scenic views that it gives, the absolute settings that it puts in there, just to just put you in that mind space. I mean, I don't know how much of that stuff is real, but it looked absolutely beautiful.
This is on location. This isn't volume, and I think that shows, that's what you're picking up on. That's what I'm picking up on too, is this is on location. That wheat field was an actual outdoor wheat field. That, locations were actual places. So yeah, it makes a big difference.
I mean, it makes a huge difference. And what I noticed a lot was they were doing these continuous scenes where it was just they'd start at one place and then they'd follow it along, and then those really long shots.
Yeah, man.
It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I mean, I started out the first episode and I was just looking at the TIE fighter in the wing there, or the hangar, and I was just like, the attention to detail and how smooth over everything looks, it was just freaking beautiful. And I mean, I just hope that they are taking notes on how to do their movies after this, because if you look back on what has come before, I mean, this is the level of where they need to be at. I mean, and this is Disney Plus. I mean, this was movie level quality, and it was absolutely putting you exactly in the space that you needed to be to follow and be and feel where the story was going.
Man.
The other part, was the musical score on this. I mean, it had it had the right music at the right time. It had the, I guess, sound effects, you can put it that way, to kind of put you in that suspense.
Yeah, sound design.
It was what I had. What has been lacking. I mean, I can't say about. I'm not talking about Andor season 1, but I'm talking about previous Star Wars Disney Plus shows. I mean, Skeleton Crew came kind of close because it puts you in that kind of mentality, brought back that nostalgia, but this definitely puts you there. The colors, the shooting of it, the music, it was all there. I mean, I am so thrilled by what we just witnessed. I mean, I feel like this is 2020 and we were just witnessing Luke come in and save fucking Mandalore. I mean, dude, I remember that. I remember you texting me and I was just like, holy crap, they're doing it. And this is, I feel like I'm right back there. This is the start of the shit. And, I mean, I have been reading and watching a couple of because they recently had a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff come out. The Mandalorian, Grogu, a whole bunch of talk about the Thrawn, heir to the Empire. I mean, like, this could be the start of like how this is gonna be setting the bar. You know what I mean? And I am absolutely thrilled. But let's get into the actual show. I mean, like, I know we're both thrilled that, like, the actual tone and setting, but like, let's talk about what's going on. I mean, so
Yeah,
episode 1, I mean, what do you think?
sorry, man. I was just showing a picture. I was trying to screen share, and it
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
work too well. I was screen sharing a picture of the TIE fighter, the TIE Avenger that Cassian Andor stole, and that was episode 1, right?
Episode 1.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, just taking us through it. Like, episode 1, he steals a TIE fighter, and then he runs into this group of like kind of rebels, and then that kind of leads us into episode 2. And episode 2 is kind of with this group of rebels, where then they butt up against this other group of rebels.
Well, it's the
Uh,
same group of rebels. They just divided in two.
oh, okay, yeah, there's like
Yeah.
a civil war type thing. I'm just like giving my like brain dump of thoughts because like I
Yeah, yeah.
haven't even like processed this fully yet. And then that was pretty much the full episode of episode 2. We had some things in the background going on with like Luthen and Mom Mothma, the preparation for the wedding and things like that. And then really episode 3 to me is where it was at. Like episode 1 and 2 were kind of set up mostly. And episode 3 was the wedding, and then you had Cassian, you know, he breaks away from that rebel group, or he succeeds in like stealing the TIE fighter and kind of helping them, and then he comes back to that wheat field planet, like I keep saying, the catcher in the rye planet. And yeah, Nick, take it away. You're better at
Well,
breakdowns than I am.
so I mean, let's start at episode 1. I mean, so episode 1, we have Cassian stealing the TIE fighter. I mean, first off, he gives that great speech at the beginning to that Imperial worker who is giving him like all the information, maybe even the key codes. I wasn't really following that part, but she was scared, and he gives her that leader speech, and she goes to him, she goes, "Is this worth it?" And he says, "This is," he basically tells her, this right here, right now, this is all worth it. What you were doing. I mean, to me, like that just put my emotions just on a 10. Like that, that is back right where we were when what's his name, Andy Circa, what's his name, Golem.
Andy Serkis, yeah.
Yeah, Andy Serkis was giving that speech to the other inmates, and then when Grandma Andor was giving the speech to the other people of Phoenix, Ferrix. I mean, like, dude, she was scared, and that's what Andor was doing. He was doing Andor. He was being that leader, and that's what you saw on that planet with those. Well, I mean, those people, like Andor, kind of confirmed it. They were rebels, but they were on like another. They weren't rebels in the rebel cause, but they were rebels in their own cause.
Yeah, they're
right, because they didn't know who was like helping him out and shit like that, and that's why like they didn't believe him and stuff like that. But like that's what he was showing, because like I thought like the entire time he was just going to be like, dude, you guys need to let me take over because you guys, there's no leadership here. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, let me take over. That's what I thought was going to happen. But I mean, like, the situation that happened, with him, escaping and then, making his way to the TIE fighter, that was still good. But I thought, I didn't know. They called me caught me off guard when that, monster creature came flying through the scene, ate 3 of them in one gulp, and I was just like, holy shit. It reminded me of the bull like creature from Clone Wars. The one, you had the spider creature, you had the bull creature, and you had the cat creature, the bull creature. You know what I'm talking about?
Bendu?
Yeah, well, no, in Clone Wars, when they were trying to take out Anakin and Obi-Wan, you had those 3 creatures, and like one of them was kind of like a rhino type bull type thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I thought that was the Bendu. Or
Oh
oh
yeah,
no
yeah,
no 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 no! I know what you're talking about now. You're talking
yeah,
about Attack of the Clones.
yeah.
Yeah, you were saying Clone Wars, so I was
Yeah,
thinking
my
the
bad, my
animated series.
bad,
No,
my
Attack of
bad.
the Clones when they're in the Coliseum. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what that reminded me of though. But like he had like that, big old mouth and gulped him up. I was just like, holy fuck. Um, but I mean, I don't know what you thought about this, and I'm going to ask you your opinion on this. So the side story of Mon
Well,
Mothman's.
wait, real quick. I'm glad you reminded me of that like intro scene where he's like talking up that girl, like why you're doing this. Like
It was great.
that was a really good entry point into this season of like that shows where he like that was not Cassian that we met at the beginning of last season. Like that was not him. Like he would not be talking somebody up. He'd be like, "No, get the hell out of here. Save your
Right.
skin." He's like, "No, you're part of something, and if you do, like," she recognized like, "I might die right now. Tell me this is worth
She
something."
was scared,
And
man.
yeah,
She was
man, like
super scared.
that was powerful. So I like, yeah, I'm yeah, that's why I like you doing the breakdowns because you remind me of the like impactful moments like that. So yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. I mean, like, because one of the things that kind of stood out to me was I mean, it's just the side story of the entire first arc here. Mon Mothma's daughter's wedding. I
Yeah,
know it was to convey. I forgot his name, but the bankers just being scared and backing out of their little arrangement. Because what I didn't understand is he are they scared that he's just backing out and not going to be their banker anymore, or that he's going to be scared and going to um, the guy whose son is marrying her daughter. Um, but either way, though, I mean, what I was just like, holy shit! Like at the end when um, Mon Mothman's sister, the girl that we saw in the heist arc of the first season, her girlfriend being the driver of his shuttle when he was getting taken away from the wedding.
yeah, dude.
I mean, he's done for. I mean, because that's what I thought. I thought Luther or Luthen is this Luther or
Luthen.
Luthen. I thought Luthen was just going to go, hey man, let me go talk to you over here real
Yeah.
quick here.
Well, yeah,
But
dude. Like that was cool. Like I recognized her right away. She's gorgeous. That uh assassin or whatever, the girlfriend of what's her face? The blonde who is now redhead, which makes total sense. Like it's like the
that
Chandrillian
that's
the
Mon
Chand
Mothman's. It's Mon Mothman's sister, right? The girl
cousin.
from the heist.
Cousin.
Is it cousin? Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, like I love seeing them like you as a redhead, like respect this Chandrillan planet is like ginger, like that's
Right.
nice to see like representation. So but anyway.
What did you think of that side story about? I mean, because to me, there was a little bit too much of
Well,
getting in depth in this wedding. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it was
Well,
unnecessary.
before we get into the wedding stuff, like the Tacoma stuff is what I was like really interested in. Like that was the meat of the story is like which, by the way, Tacoma, like I love that character. I love that actor. I've seen him in a couple other things since
Which one does that remind me?
Tacoma. He's the guy who was like having cold feet, or he was starting to have cold feet. The banker guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like I really liked him in season one, and I was like, all right, he's like, on board, like I liked he and his and Mon Mothma's, little covert conversation in the party that was really cool in season one. And then now season two, you skip forward a year or a couple years, I guess, at this point, and he's shaken. His marriage is like in shambles apparently, and he's like trying to hold things together, and that's
Well, I mean,
he's about to gotten to, and so that's why he's got to get taken out. That like he's obviously getting taken out, like that. Whether they show it or they allude to it in the next episode,
It's implied.
like
It's implied.
it's implied he's gone. Like I feel like we're gonna skip forward another year in the next set of episodes. And so yeah, he's out of the picture at this point. And that's a shame. Like I really actually was kind of attached to that character. I thought he was gonna like do something cool. Backing up. He's had Mon Mothma's back to this point, and uh Perrin, her husband, is a little, whatever you want to get, a little bitch boy.
Doesn't he remind you of Jared Leto from Blade Runner 2049?
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I like the whole aesthetic that they're going for with the like Chandrillan. They're kind of the Japanese. Well, maybe I do have a problem. It's kind of like reappropriating Japanese culture with the like, you look at samurai movies like Kurosawa movies, with the Japanese hairstyles and things.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cool, integrating that into the Star Wars lore. Obviously, it's always been there. But this planet in particular has that kind of aesthetic. So Perrin, I I dig his style and all that, but like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I dug the deep culture that they showed us. I just thought a bit of it was like unnecessary. They didn't need to go in that in depth.
Yeah.
I mean, it puts you in the setting, but at the same time, I felt like it was kind of a time killer. But at the same time, that's also kind of what I've been preaching, is that you need to have depth like showings, and with the clothes, the language, the traditions, the rituals, and that shit like that. And they did that. But at the same time, it's just like, we really didn't need all of that, but let's get off of the wedding. I mean, I've said my piece on it.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind the wedding. I thought it was kind of cool. The one kind of complaint that I had actually was about the song. Excuse me. They reused a song that was like that techno, which was kind of cool, but
Dude,
that was in
this
season.
was me like the entire time when I was like,
like that was like a reused song from season 1, and then like well, it's just like real like it. So when Cassian goes to that planet right before he's sent to the prison, that weird floating prison, that song is playing when he's on that beach planet. I haven't looked, I just watched these episodes, so I haven't looked that up. Don't quote me if I'm wrong, but I recognize the song. Regardless, then that song continued throughout that episode, which I get it. You gotta like create continuity when you're going back and forth, but like I wish they would have mixed it up with the music.
Let's talk about episode 2 with the just the back and forth between the rebels, the civil war between the rebels. I thought that was super interesting because it's who Cassian is meant to be, because he immediately was just like telling them, dude, you guys need to collect water, you guys need to do this, you guys need to set up a perimeter. I mean, that is who I think that's what the series is alluding to, is Cassian stepping into this leadership role and just seeing how these rebels, because they were rebels, but they were rebels not in league with the main rebel force. That they,
right, and that's what I think this first arc was all about, was showing his leadership through. He's now able to pass on Nemec's manifesto. Like I swear he quoted. I don't know if it was in episode 2 or 1, but he quoted a couple times Nemec's manifesto, like lines from that, and just about persevering and like moving forward and coalescing and like doing the things that like ought to be done had I not done it, to quote some Fidel lure. Yeah, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so in this episode, I liked seeing that come to the forefront. And he's a leader now, and he's trying. He's he has a mission beyond just survival and getting by. It's a greater mission that he's a part of now, and that shows. It showed in like how he interacts with these new people.
Yeah, I mean, it showed in that first speech he gave to that woman who was part of the Empire. I thought he was going to give some sort of speech to these rebels as well. What I did like, and I thought was kind of very, I mean, it was cool, in my opinion, how they were doing like a rock, paper, scissors type game to determine who's going to win. I
Yeah.
thought that was brilliant.
I love in-world things like that.
I mean, like,
little
'cause
things.
I thought that they were just going to shoot it out or something like that. They were just going to do the two guys who are gearing for, leadership, like a shootout type deal. And then they just started doing these, like, it was great. I mean, I thought it was cool. And then I thought it was even, what caught me off guard was the size of the beast, the creature, that it literally went through and ate ate three of them, like in one swoop. And I was just like, oh, all right, let's do this, But
I feel terrible, Nick. I don't know what part you're talking about. I might have
yeah. It's
gotten
right before.
distracted by that.
Yeah, it's
I
right.
might have gotten distracted during watching that episode.
It's
and missed
one
that
scene.
part.
It's
Okay.
literally one scene for
I
like
totally
maybe
missed
like
that. Like, there's a monster. Like, I love
Yeah.
monsters of the week type things. So,
Yeah,
like, maybe
yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch these 3 episodes definitely over the next week. That's
Yeah,
one spot I can look forward to.
yeah, it's literally like right after it's in the middle of their little game, and it's right when Cassian escapes. He like shoots his shackles, and I think it's either
Yeah.
right before it or it's like right
Okay.
after it. But it's like about the
And
size.
that's what gets them distracted, and then
Right.
Cassian's getting
Yeah,
away. Yeah.
it like I said,
Right.
it's the size of the rhino monster from Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has, its mouth is like this web, and so it like goes through and just like eats them up.
Dude, I completely missed that. I'm definitely gonna catch that on the
It's like
rewatch.
2 or 3 seconds. I mean, honestly, but like I was just like, oh shit. No, it was great. But what I do want to also talk about is where Bex I saw, because I had the captions on. I have to have the captions on. His name is Brasso, the older guy. I can't remember what the younger guy's name is. I thought that was kind of lame that they had the younger guy in a relationship, or no, in a budding relationship with one of the locals at that planet, which is why they were not able to leave earlier. But okay, I get it. So spoilers, Brasso dies, which, I mean, I thought was weak because they didn't show him getting hit, and then all of a sudden, because what they showed him was him getting away, and then you see Cassian come down, and then he lands right where his speeder's at, and then all of a sudden you see his speeder's on his side, and he's down on the ground. And it was just like, come on. I mean, he got away. You guys showed him get away. Let him get away.
Did we see a body, though? Did we see a shot of the body? Is he dead?
Yeah. Like Cassian comes up and like holds him. He caresses him. Just like,
Okay, yeah.
But
I'm
like,
sorry. Just for our viewers, our like 3 viewers out there, I have 2 young children, and I was distracted from time to time throughout these episodes. So
hey,
I missed a few things. I haven't been able to rewatch. So
it happens. It happens. Yeah, I mean, I just didn't think. I thought Brasso's death shouldn't have happened. I thought the part that Bix, about her being sexually assaulted, or almost sexually assaulted.
yeah, let's focus on that for just a second, because that was big. That was one thing that I talked about, to my wife right after the episode. That was huge, like to me,
Yeah.
like whoa, 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 like we're going there. Like not only one, like in the in world, like imperial, like this authoritarian regime coming in town, just doing whatever they want and whatever that, the trickle down effect that has on officers and things when dealing with communities and how that translates to the real world. But then like, so in like, in world, but then like real world, like whoa, like Disney Plus actually like went there. Like that's pretty
Right.
cool of them to, like bring that type of issue up, like, respect, for not like shying away from that.
I agree.
I wanted her to, smash him in the face with whatever metal object she could find.
Right.
I think she handled the situation well, and I liked how that turned out. I think the dude got
I
blown up, right?
my only critique is that I thought she could have handled it more like a spy, where she kind of invited him over to a quiet corner of the hut there, and then just
Uh,
and then just ended him. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Instead of kind of like the shouting that happened, which alerted the other guy, which alerted the other troopers. I thought that would have been something more that was going to happen, but I mean, I get it. I mean, she's not a trained spy. I mean, but yeah, it was something that they wanted to touch on because that's the type of you know mentality that they're trying to portray that the Empire has when they're going into these worlds that you're like, hey,
yeah,
you
dude.
can't touch me. We can do whatever the hell we want. And then
And
go ahead.
well, sorry, just exactly the point that you were starting to speak on. That really hit home when it was Deidre, Deidre talking to Cyril Karn's mom,
Oh
and
yeah, I forgot all about
and
that.
that was in a microcosm what the Empire is doing. She said to the mom, "You will have certain visits. You will be allowed a certain amount of influence or voice or whatever, however she put it.
Yeah, yeah,
But like you're gonna be in your place."
yeah,
And
yeah.
like that is the Empire in a nutshell, is like that's what they're doing to these planets, these communities, these civilizations. Like we're gonna take your resources and you're gonna deal with it in our way, and whatever you have to say about it, like
I thought
doesn't matter.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, that was a good interaction. I thought that like that storyline right there, I was happy to see, because it showed number one, just those two uptight people being in a relationship, but then being super uptight when his mom was coming there. And then like you said, like her being a higher up and representative of the Empire, laying it
Yeah.
down. I mean, she saw that like her man was just like in total anxiety, but she was just like, you know what, you're not going to disrupt our relationship, blah 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 blah. I thought that was a good showing on that. I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
Um,
That mom is quite the character, man.
I like her. I mean,
And I still want to know more about this Uncle Harlow.
right.
Apparently he's quite the dirtbag after this episode. Like he's kind of been built up in our minds as viewers of like
All we know is that he gives
a
them money.
yeah, a businessman of some sorts. He's a stable source of reliable income, whatever, but like he's probably shady in and of himself. So I want to learn more about Uncle Harlow. I wonder if he's maybe a potential spin-off or something, like he could be, Dash Rendar or something.
What did you think of the who is Cassian Andor's robot? What's his name? The little
Oh shoot. Yeah, I forget the name.
Yeah,
Um
I liked I liked how they were talking to the robot. Like it
I
was
like that
like
robot.
what's that?
I like that robot.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, like, so in the
The
age
droid,
that, in
sorry.
the age that we live
Droid.
in now, and you compare it to, I mean, Star Wars AI, as far as like a AI robot is concerned, like they were talking to it like it was kind of like I mean, like
Sentient being.
yes, a sentient being, but like more like a toddler. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you're like,
Uh,
hey,
so
I was
so
gonna say, like, go
last
ahead.
night. Sorry, man. You go.
Yeah,
I keep
I was
cutting
gonna
you
say,
off.
like, they were talking to it like it's like, hey, she's gonna take really good care of you. You're not even gonna notice we're gone. You're gonna have so much fun. It's like that's how you talk to like a kid, and like that's really interesting to me. Like, if there's different levels of AI sentience in the
Hmm.
Star Wars universe. Like R2D2, C3PO, or more like an adult, like sentience compared to like some other ones that are more, like I said, like a toddler, intelligence type deal.
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. I thought that was
No, no, I think that's super interesting too. So my whole thing about droids in the Star Wars universe is that I've actually Star Wars Celebration this past weekend, which we should talk more about that. Not this episode. Let's do that maybe tomorrow. Let's do another quick episode tomorrow or something. Um, but basically, Dave Filoni dropped a little nugget that he viewed Chopper kind of as a cat. At one point, he like made an analogy of a cat, and I had always looked at droids like dogs. Excuse me.
yeah.
And you had even dog breeds, like, protocol droids, or like, the poodles. They're the annoying, like, "Ah," and then you had the R2D2s who are like the bulldogs who have the information and they protect things and all that. Dave Filoni said, he kind of looks at Chopper like a cat. And like he does what he wants to on his own time. And I think that that analogy of droids makes total sense, and actually makes more sense of dogs, in that, yeah, while they're loyal, and that's kind of how I've always looked at them with C3PO and R2D2, but like droids in general are more like cats if you think about it, because they do what they want, but they also do have that kind of sentient ability to empathize from time to time.
And
So,
loyalty.
and loyalty, and with that element of loyalty, yeah. And so, relating that to the droid in Andor, which I need to figure out the name. Um, B, I want to say B2. Is it
Sounds right.
B2? Um, anyway, trash can droid. It looks like a trash can. Anyway, that is the type of cat that you have to like treat sensitively. You have to like uh you know speak to a certain way. And I noticed that that's what I was starting to interrupt you with a minute ago, with is I watched Andor, the finale, the last two episodes of Andor season 1 last night, and the the amount of sympathy and love that that droid gets after Marva dies is ridiculous. Like they treat it like a toddler, like you were saying. So like I don't know if that's in its programming, or it obviously has to be, science fictionally in its programming.
Right.
Um, but like, why? Like I
Right.
like to think of Star Wars, less about the, like what, but more about the why. And like it was programmed that way because it helped survival. It helped Marva and her husband, I forget his name, and Andor, Cassian. Um, survive and be stronger by being more of a sensitive droid. And it's a utilitarian like trash can of a droid, but it has this like super sensitive side. And what's the benefit to that, story wise? So
I mean, like the benefit is that it survived. I mean, because if you think about it, that's why puppies are cute. That's why kittens are cute. That's why I mean, all these little things they are cute because, like, number one,
you have
humans
to love
think
them.
humans think they are. And that's part of what I kind of was picking up on. That is that it is cute because it, like I said, it's like this, not family pet, but kind of like a family pet, but at the same time, it's got like
It's
a
a it's a entity, and like
right.
it's a entity. It's a droid is an
It's a
information.
family member, right?
Yeah, it's a family member, but like if going like stepping back, like if it's a hard drive, if that hard drive, like I have a external hard drive here. If this external hard drive stores information and it's really important information, wouldn't I, and this had sentience, wouldn't I want it to have survival abilities? And so, like, in order for this to survive on its own, it has to be empathetic with others
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a part of the community. And in
Mhm.
order to be a part of the community, it has to have sympathy and empathy and all these things. Like, that's really cool. Like, I had not thought about that until we are just like talking about it now, and that's
Yeah,
part of what I love about our Mostly Wizard podcast. So
absolutely. And that's the crazy thing about like this whole universe, man. Like it thinks about things that, like, it's practical, but like you don't think about it. And it's just
yeah,
like,
man.
dude, and exactly what you said. I mean, it's a survival tactic. Um, but I want to talk about again, just let's just talk about it a little bit, because I was just blown away by how this was shot, how the artwork looked, the coloring looked, the tone that was set. And we had talked about previously that this was not going to hit the mark. Holy fuck. Like, this hit the mark and surpassed it like 1,000 times.
Yeah, it was
Like,
phenomenal, man.
I mean, like, I could just what I want from the Star Wars universe is what was given to us tonight. And that is just art. This was art. This was pure and simple fucking art. And you do not get that from a show, like, once in a lifetime,
Yeah, man.
a generation. I can't say a lifetime because that's saying that it's hard to do. I don't think it's hard to do. I think it just is somebody being allowed to be true. And I think they allowed Tony Gilroy and the filmmaker, or people behind the
Yeah,
camera,
creative team. Yeah.
the creative team, to be true. And I think they were just like, you know what? You guys were such a success and everything was such a bomb. You guys need to be allowed to do what you need to do. And they took a chance, and I'm gonna say it. I mean, they fucking succeeded. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I mean, is that too early to say that they succeeded?
No, well, so success is measured on so many different metrics, Nick. So I will say, in order to answer that right now, I will ask a question. Our last podcast, we were talking about the release schedule of the series, 3 episodes at once. You kind of viewed that as more of like a marketing ploy, sort of
Right.
like a
Which
corporate
which I'd
scheme.
heard.
Yeah, I had heard that too. I viewed it more as like a creative choice, and maybe something that Tony Gilroy had pushed for in structuring the series. So after just seeing these first 3 episodes, this first arc, we see Andor, Cassian and Andor now more in a leadership role, more, you know, like uh, progressing that rebel rhetoric of Nemec's, you know, manifesto and things, uh, and stepping more into that role. And we get a few other things with Mon Mothma, obviously, and Luthen. How do you feel after these first 3 episodes about the release schedule in particular?
I mean, I am thoroughly pumped. I mean, like, because like you said, I mean, I'm on board with what you're saying, that this is a storytelling tool. This is how they're going. This is how Tony Gilroy is telling the story in 3 episodes. You know, I mean, because it says it's 4 years from the Battle of Yavin, but well, no, I guess we are getting. Are we getting 4 arcs? We are getting 4 arcs. So I mean,
Yeah.
it to me, I think this is totally hitting the mark. I was very skeptical of being able to tell the whole story, of that one arc or that 1 year. Or I guess that's not even a 1 year. It's what happens within that 1 year within a couple of days.
Right.
Within 3 hours, not even 3 hours, like 2.5 hours, if you like take out, the 6-minute credits that, 'cause I was like, oh shit, we got like, 10 minutes left, and all of a sudden it was over after 5 minutes. I was like,
I know,
oh,
I scrubbed through.
yeah. But I'm on board with what you're saying, man. I think it is a very, very good way to just represent what he's trying to show. And I think what they've done, they did it correctly. I really do.
Yeah, I look forward to what's next too. To be honest, like I don't know if you want to go there yet, like what to expect next, the next release next Tuesday, really. Um I expect where do we leave this? You know, like Andor's the look in his eye in that last shot of Cassian. Excuse me. I've been drinking. Had to burp there. I masked it pretty well, but I had to announce it regardless. Um, yeah, the last shot, that look in his eyes was pretty intense, you know. He's seen some shit in the past, and he's continuing to see some shit, and he's ready to move to the next level, and I'm looking forward to what that next level is. I think Mon Mothma, her, the culmination of her, dancing in the end, like that was really cool. How it kind of like just stopped all of a sudden, and like with her, we going kind of into spoiler territory. Like we know where she goes in Star Wars Rebels. By the time of Star Wars Rebels, she meets up with the team of the Ghost crew, after the Gorman massacre, which we don't have a lot of details on, but
Oh yeah.
that's what leads her to resigning, like saying like I I disavow the Empire. I am going off on my own. I am now a rebel. And then she
Let,
goes
let,
off with Ghost.
let's talk about that Gorman massacre real quick here. Um, so when they were in that meeting with Krennic and that video starts playing, I was just like, what is this video? You know what I mean? It was I
What
thought I
was
was
the
watching
video?
when they were talking about Gorman and the spiders, and like it was like the video about the just the planet Gorman and how they
The
produce.
resources that they need. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like this commercial, and I was just thinking of I don't know why I was thinking of Fallout, the show Fallout, and just how like everything was kind of like, oh yeah, hey, here's this thing. Um, I thought it was really weird, and I thought it was at first I was like, why is Krennic showing this? And then I was just like, okay, so he's just this. he's because they were the way they were showing it. It was they were showing the people, the council members show like watching it. So I was like, okay, so this isn't about like the video. This is about just whatever this message is, and
Propaganda of it.
yeah. And then you had texted me there about the Gorman massacre, and I've watched Rebels, but like I'm not up to date on it on everything on there. Tell me a
Oh,
little bit about that. Tell me a
we,
little bit about it.
we don't know much about it, to be honest, and I think some of it comes from novels or comics. Um, but there's an incident on Gorman or Gore, whatever, the Gorman massacre that happens is, kind of like a Boston massacre type thing where it's like a tipping point in Mon Mothma's story, for starters, where she, like I said, that's her the last straw, and she makes a big announcement to the galaxy in front of the Senate, um, saying like, I disavow the emperor, and yeah, in other words, I disavow the empire and the
Right.
emperor. And yeah, then she has to get the freak out of Dodge right after that, obviously. And so that's where she meets up with the Ghost crew. And so we don't know, like we heard a little bit in Rebels, we heard a little bit of her message to the galaxy, but beyond that, we have no idea. So this is really, exciting, but also kind of like exciting in a morbid way, to finally get to see, the events that would take a woman of such stature to just like throw it all away and like be like, no, I'm gonna go and hopefully get some fighters together and figure it out. Like that's the thing. That's what's so cool about the Star Wars Rebel Alliance, is that it's a mishmash of people. It's a true, like, people that are being affected by the empire are the ones that are going to step up and do something about it, and the people who have had close ones affected by that, they're the ones that are going to come into the fight next, and then there's going to be a next wave. And so all these waves of rebellion, ultimately to topple the empire, which we know is ultimately what happens. But like seeing the early workings of that, and like how, like a little. Sorry. Okay, sorry, Nick. Sorry to bring in real world here, but little acts of rebellion in the real world, like a simple protest, like going out and standing on a sidewalk on, mid rivers, um, on a Saturday, like that takes a lot of guts to do,
Yeah.
and and it also takes a lot of guts from somebody, a hermit like me, to get somebody out of their basement, off of their couch, to go out on that street corner and just hold up a sign for a couple hours. I did that a couple weeks ago because of the bullshit going on in our country right now.
Yeah.
And like I heard that in these 3 episodes, I heard echoes of, this uh authoritarianness coming in.
Yeah.
But also I heard echoes of like how to fight that, and like how, like how to get ahead of that, like by having art that talks about rebellion and how to fight authoritarianism, we know how to get out ahead of that. And hopefully, more people, right now in the real world, and we'll move on from this in a second, but hopefully more people get out there and say their piece right now.
I mean, like, don't you think that it's, I mean, maybe it is a coincidence, but maybe it's not a coincidence, but something like this that like uplifts people to like resist is like causing, it would be like a thing to, drive people in the real world to do the same thing.
I hope so, Nick. I hope it, if nothing else, it helps people recognize what, fascism could look like, what
Right.
authoritarianism does look like. And, not not to get all dramatic, like I'm not, political in a lot of what I say, but like I see some reflections. Like there's
Oh
undeniably
yeah.
some reflections in the
Oh
real
yeah.
world and what's happening in the Star Wars world. And like there's a reason that we tell these stories to younger generations. We're that younger generation that was told Star Wars. And like it's our turn to, like recognize like, wait, that's a stormtrooper if I ever freaking saw one. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so that's where art crosses into the real world, and yeah, I don't like to talk about it too much, but
Yeah, I hear you.
it's right there with this show, man. It's
I
right in your
agree with
face.
you. And I agree with you. And that's part of like, why, I felt Andor's speech to that woman at the very beginning was
Hell yeah,
incredibly powerful. I was just like, absolutely, yes, or let's do it. That sort of thing. These sort of things just showcase, what it is, you know, and that's what season one was. It was a whole season about what it is to resist
hmm
and to if you were a good man, not to stand by and not let evil prosper. You know what I mean? Like, don't that saying, Um, but I have felt this was a great start to this season.
yeah,
I
man.
I do want to know, we didn't get a Mon Mothman backstory as to why she's even doing this? We didn't get that in season one, did we?
Why she's doing what?
Being Mon Mothman, the head of the
Oh,
rebellion.
I mean, I think she's just been
We didn't get that
awoken to
though.
the.
I mean, like her and her cousin. Okay, so her and her cousin, they're
Yeah,
they're
you're
to-
onto something there, like because we haven't gotten specifically what's driven her into
right,
it.
right, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
maybe they might touch on in like
hmm
the second or
Flashback or something.
third, maybe even the fourth, where it's just like a flashback where you see the Empire killing their. Okay, so if she was her cousin, that means it would be their grandpa. So maybe their grandpa was the ruler or something like that, and then like the Empire may have,
Magistrate or something.
yeah, like may have killed him or something like that, and sent him down this path.
Yeah. It's gotta have something to do with, well, just, going from she's in the Senate. She's a senator, right? That's what her position is.
yeah,
She's a senator, so, like, you know, her earlier in life, going forward 40 years was the Clone Wars, so, like, or was sh no, she was in okay. Sorry. Remember the deleted scenes of, Attack of the Clones and, Revenge of the Sith? Mon Mothma was involved in the Senate back then, during this, like, separatist revulsion and all that. So, she's been in politics for that long, and she's just seen the course of history. Like, that's her impetus. Like, she's she's been witness to this all along. So, yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily an inciting incident, like, to her getting into the cause for justice or whatever you wanna call it. Um,
she's just a good
but
person who does what's right.
right, exactly, and I think up until this point, and I think the Gorman massacre is her breaking point of, "Okay, now shit has crossed the line." Like, that's her breaking point, and so, like, then once that happens, it's gonna be big, and I'm looking forward to those episodes. I wonder if that's gonna be the next. I doubt that'll be the next arc. I bet that's the 3rd arc.
Did you notice when Cassian on the second episode, was the second yeah, the second episode, or was it the third? He took off from that planet that he was stranded on. Did you know that was Yavin 4?
Oh, was it?
Did you not see that at the very end? where he took
I don't
off.
think I did.
Yeah, he takes off, and there's pyramids there. They look like Aztec.
Oh, okay. The pyramids. I did notice the pyramids.
Yeah, Yavin 4, man. Is it Yavin 4 or is it just Yavin? I think it's
Yavin
Yavin
4. I don't know what Yavin 3, 2, and 1 are.
4.
Is there a Yavin 5?
I don't know, but I thought no. I guess it's just a Yavin because she says
No, no,
Leia.
you're right.
No. Leia says when she's giving the location of the rebels, when she's getting interrogated, she says Yavin. She doesn't say Yavin 4. She says Yavin.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Yavin system.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I love.
I mean, like, how cool is that, though? I mean, like, dude, I'm
The little nods are so cool to this show, like the tie-ins. Like I've always said, like Rogue One, Nick, I cried. I went to I out of the theater after I got in my car and started driving away. That's when I started crying after Rogue One. Um, it hit me that, just like, wow, like they took all the things from our childhood and like mashed them together in this gorgeous way. That
And that's a good way to put it. A gorgeous fucking way, dude. That is a great way to put it.
yeah, man.
I
Those
mean, like,
wizard.
I'm just going to reiterate this. What we witnessed was art, plain and simple. This was art on many different levels. This was art in the aesthetic way, in the tone way with the musical scores, and this was art in the rhetoric. This was a show that was being allowed to be who they are. And this is what Disney Plus needed. I mean, like, I don't know how they're going to be able to top this with any kind of new show that comes out, because these first three, like the way they did this, with the first, dropping the first three there, it gave a setting, it gave a issue, it gave these underlining tones, and then it gave everything else in between. And then it showed this. I mean, I'm gonna go back to this wedding, man, because I just didn't like it. But like at the same time, when I think about it, it's just like, because they kept on going back and forth. They go back and forth from the wedding to like where I think it was Bex and the crew was, being subjugated by the Empire, and
Yeah.
the wedding, these rich people were just dancing it up and everything like that. I mean, like there's the undertones in this. It was just it was great, dude. I mean, I am thoroughly looking forward to next week and what we have coming forward here.
Yeah, man.
What, you got any closing statements here?
What is my closing statement? I don't know that I have one. I thought it was a good. I wasn't underwhelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed by this premiere of season 2 of Andor. Um, I just, I honestly am looking forward to in forward weeks being able to rewatch the whole series. After I'm the type of viewer where I don't love spoilers, but like when I know spoilers, it actually sometimes enhances the story because then I know what to expect, and therefore like the execution is more important. And like I've said with Star Wars, in so many things, it's less about the like how did it happen? Like how did Kylo Ren get stabbed, or how did um, Luke Skywalker raise something with the Force? It's less about how, but like why. Why was Luke not able to raise the X-wing at that time? And Yoda was. You know, it's not about the special effects of Yoda raising that X-wing or things like that. It's about why, you know, he was able to, because it's not about size that matters. And or whatever the quote was. I totally butchered that. But you get my point of, I love Star Wars because it teaches those lessons in nuanced ways. And I think Andor season 2 is off to a phenomenal start. Like, I feel like I've already started to think about things and themes that I have not thought about, you know, in as it pertains to Star Wars, um, and this era of Star Wars. And so I look forward to digging in more deep thoughts.
I thoroughly agree with everything you said, man. Everybody, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. We appreciate it because we have 0 subscribers. But please, let's keep this going because we're going to keep going. We love
Hell
doing
yeah,
this,
man.
and we're going to keep going. We'll see you guys, next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do another one next week. Otherwise, we hope you guys have a good rest of your week, all right?